welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your hosts, Buddy Sotello Esquire and Evan Ginzburg. This week I'll introduce my guest, which is the wonderful and illustrious Ceasar Black of Fog City Wrestling, and has an amazing story to tell us all. He's a mutual friend of both Evan and myself, and a unique promoter and personality in Bay Area wrestling. So thank you for being on our show tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for those adjectives that nobody's ever used from me before. Wonderful, and it's the first time it's ever been said about Ceasar Black. So thank you.
Well, you know, heel managers have to stay together. You know, we have to form a union. You know, and get our own representation one of these days. But I saw that you are, a mutual friend of Evan and myself, and we've had, let's just say, a heavy East Coast roster for the last few months. So it's nice to throw in some West Coast flavor for those on the East Side, and they can hear the tale of Fog City Wrestling, which was a really unique federation here in San Francisco. Yeah. And but so tell me how you got started in wrestling to begin with.
Oh, so for me, it starts in Fort Worth, Texas. I was living with my father, got a construction job there. So we were there for a year, and it was literally the year that the feud between the Freebirds and the Von Erich started. And my Aunt Savannah, who you couldn't take water in her living room. You couldn't take crackers. You could not eat in the woman's house, not in the kitchen, except for on Friday nights. And we watched Sportatorium Wrestling, TV trays out, and I started watching Sportatorium Wrestling with my Aunt Savannah and Uncle George. And then we moved back to California. I, stayed in WWF. Kerry Von Erich came over. I was like, oh, Texas Tornado, I know that guy, So it was always kind of there. That movie with Dirk Benedict came out. It was filmed in Long Beach with the Samoans. So we were proud of that. So it was always kind of peripherally there. As far as entertainment goes. But then I really got into it, and then during the Attitude Era, I got into the shows themselves, and I was doing a lot of indie punk rock at that time, and I kind of started seeing the similarities between ECW and the punk shows I was doing. Small budget, super mega talented, almost like cult classics every time you do a show, and I was intrigued by that. Then I moved to San Francisco. And the shows that I was doing, my punk rock shows that I was doing in Humboldt, I couldn't do them in San Francisco because they were already being done. So I needed a new venture. And I was really big into the TNA Asylum shows at that time. And I was like, ooh, if they could do shows in little buildings like that, I could find a little building and do a show in it. And I literally, went around San Francisco, picked up Stevie Armani, picked up a couple other casts, like, we can do this. And took us about a year of planning. We found the building, talked to Roland Alexander, got his blessing, did some work with Kirk White, used his ring for the first show, used some of his guys. My idea was to bring the entire Bay Area together. When I first started promoting the idea of a show, if we were going to be San Francisco and be central, I didn't want to just use APW guys. I didn't want to do an APW show in San Francisco. I didn't want to do a BTW show in San Francisco. I wanted to do a wrestling show in San Francisco with all the talent. I did McMahon. I went and got Rick Luxury from this place. I went and got Chemo from this place. I went and got the Twins, your boys, the Bad Seed.
The Bad Apples. Yeah. We got to get them on the show one of these days. Yeah.
I purged all the best talent and put on the show. And then I got Rikishi, who just got off his WWE contract, and I'm friends with his family. We had him as our headliner, and we were able to sell 400 tickets for our first show. And it was a learning experience unlike any other. I mean, I've been doing punk rock shows since I was like 12. I can run a music show in a heartbeat. This was bananas, And I didn't just jump into the business either. I went to wrestling school first. I went to Iron with that's where I met you.
At Pro Wrestling Iron. Right. There's a Pro Wrestling Iron with Mike Modest and with Donovan. And that was right after the APW split, which I know that that was dramatic in itself. And we kind of lose the East Coast a little bit because they don't know all necessarily all the principles. But All Pro Wrestling was the federation that was mentioned in Beyond the Mat. So as a frame of reference, that featured Roland Alexander, and who was definitely quite a wrestling character. And do you think at some point in time they're going to want to maybe do a Dark Side of the Ring about Roland Alexander?
You know what? I would. The guy was there the whole Cow Palace circuit the whole time. He was there. I mean, just if they did one about the Bay Area, you can include him in it. Roy Shire, because you'd have to do Kirk White. You'd have to talk about Jason Dedrick. There's a lot that got played into it. There was a minute where Bay Area wrestling was like smoking for a minute.
It was, no disrespect to you folks in New York who have Madison Square Garden, but, there was that time in the early 2000s when we had, American Dragon was training at All Pro Wrestling, and we had Samoa Joe and John Cena showing up here on a regular basis for AEW shows.
Frankie Kazarian,
Bailey. Even if you want to throw in one of Simon Gotch from the Vaudevillains.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had his time in the WWE spotlight, or Crash Holly. He's
working MLW now with Fatu, with my boy Jacob.
Yeah. So, I think we may have lost Evan here. So let's try to get him a little bit involved in the conversation. You have some questions about, what the origins of Ceasar here and how things got going?
Sure. I was at Madison Square Garden when the Rock and Wrestling connection started in the mid-'80s with Piper and Wendy Richter and Albano, the whole deal. I was there. And I was also a club booker as far as music. So I'm interested in the music and wrestling connection that you were talking about with Punk, because I just saw a great documentary on Fishbone, and those guys struggled too, just like indie wrestling has struggled. Yeah. So tell us about the connections with the music and the wrestling.
So for me, it came more out of the ethic. Because I come out of that mid-'80s, the late '80s, do it DIY ethic. When you do it yourself, put on your own shows, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I was built to operate with low budget, and I was able to also maximize the equipment I had, and maximize the venue and make the venue itself the atmosphere via going to the old Fugazi shows, going to Jabberjaw Cafe in Hollywood, or going to the Palladium, or going to check it out, remembering that vibe at the club, putting it into the wrestling ring, giving people this little intimate feel, and then action pounding. And if you go to the Fox City YouTube page, coming out of the music scene, I had a bunch of contacts in it. So all of our YouTube clips have licensed music with like Cage the Elephant, Busta Rhymes, people I've actually worked with, and making a phone call. We actually have we had Cage the Elephant before they blew up. We had No Rest for the Wicked on one of our podcasts. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw it from a radio entertainment point of view, with a love for the sport. Some cats come into this game thinking they want to change the game of wrestling, and that their ideas are this new. I know you don't make a new tire. You just put a better tread on it and run on a different turf.
There you go. I was at the ECW arena in the '90s in Philly. And when the Gangsters and Public Enemy would come out, the music helped really make it. I mean, it was a huge part of it, because some of those guys were limited as wrestlers, but when that music hit, the place went out of their minds. I mean, it worked together, definitely.
Absolutely. I used to come up to James Brown, Paid the Cost to Be the Boss, and I would let it hit 1, 2, get down, ding, ding, and I would let it sit. Ding, ding, ding. I wouldn't come out till I said, pay the cost. I would not come out till the words came out. Then I step out. And as soon as we step out, it was me and Baby Slim and K-Dub. And we were the Ceasar Black Experience. And as soon as we stepped out, because we gave him that pause, and because that James Brown, as soon as we hit our feet to the ground, we got the instant heat, you know.
And let me just throw this in. James Brown was influenced by Gorgeous George, so it's all connected. It's all connected. He got the cape and everything. Gorgeous George saw James Brown. They met at a radio station, and they hit it off. And he was influenced by him. It's been documented.
Now the funny thing about that is my name comes from the movie, from the Black Caesar movie.
Yeah, Fred Williamson.
Williamson actually used that to get a chance to actually meet him and talk to him and actually become friends with him. You know, and I'm kind of blessed. My name's Caesar Black. I'm actually blessed as being a Black Caesar.
There you go.
It was a really cool experience. And I'm actually friends with the son now.
AIP Pictures, Black Caesar, 73. 72 or 73.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Such a good man. And that's the thing I like about you. That's what we were saying earlier. You were saying friends. We're actually friends. I just have some I'm more of a fan. I would appreciate you post the dope movies like the Jarmusch stuff, which is a huge influence on me. I'm a huge Jim Jarmusch fan. Like even like the minimalism, my F-Fucky logo. I do a lot of stuff in Jim Jarmusch mentality. Huge Tom Waits fan.
Jim Jarmusch is amazing.
Yeah. And like I definitely like Coffee and Cigarettes, Mr. Acting Bill Murray. That's like one of my favorite scenes of all time with the Wu-Tang.
Ghost Store. What's better than Ghost Store? Yeah.
Yeah. And then just the you posted the Dead Man poster the other day. Yeah. And just like the literary William Blake killing Charles Dickinson. Just that little segment of it is genius. You know what I'm saying? There's so much like it's really good. And so so I appreciate your taste in like and the way you just present art.
Same here. I'll turn it back to Buddy.
Again, it's really good that we have you on the show. We're all, I guess, mutual fans of each other. So tell me about the rise of Fog City. You did something that nobody else in the Bay Area had managed to do, and you got on KOFY TV 20, which I gotta say, I was very jealous of. I wish that I was part of. So Iron didn't do it. APW couldn't do it. BTW couldn't do it. How did you do that?
Persistence, man. Again with the having that promoter background, I was able to go in there. Also, I was in sales too at the time, so I was able to actually go in there and kind of finagle their sales guys and like kind of get under their skin the way the sales guys get into yours and kind of like show that because we paid to play for sure. We picked our spot. See, sometimes you pay to play. They're like, okay, you can pay to play. But we're gonna put you on at 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. And I looked at the clock and I'm like, put us on at 12:30, and I'll give you X amount of dollars, and we'll pay. You know, we ran the shows perfectly. Like, let's put those commercial spots in it, but we had to be persistent, and we had to bring them a really good product too. And we had to convince them. And again, honestly, I think what convinced them is the fact that we had No Name with us from Live 105 a lot, and we were doing stuff with Live 105, so we had an actual major media back that were saying we're doing this too. Plus, I think we just come off winning Best of the Bay, so that kind of bolstered what we were doing. But just being persistent and consistent, man. Like the whole thing with Fog City was we put our noses to the grindstone. We did hand-to-hand flyer hustling in downtown San Francisco. That's a zero-sum game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just old school. Like we know for a fact that 1 out of every 100 flyers is going in a trash can somewhere. But we still did it. We still bought boxes of flyers like old school. We did old school stapling on H Street. We went up and down. We made friends with all the businesses. We had no problem putting our business anywhere. We incorporated the Ice Club Comics here in San Francisco. We hit all the right buttons. We just knew we knew where we had to go to get our fan base. My idea is this. I know for a fact that if you put a wrestling ring up, you're going to get 100 kids. My job is to get 100 casual fans. And to incorporate something different is going to drive somebody else to be like, oh, let's go watch this. Because out of that, you're going to get another fan easily. You know what I'm saying? So Fog City, look what we did. We brought in the guy from the comic store for the first few episodes. Then we brought in Raven. And then when we had our build-up for our 1 year anniversary, I got Todd Bridges.
That you read my mind because I was going to ask you what it was like to work with Todd Bridges. You got to be the only person I know who put Todd Bridges in a ring.
Yeah. Well, did you watch? Did you watch the Hulk Hogan show at all?
No,
Because I
no,
got
wait.
so there was Hulk Hogan Celebrity Wrestling. And
Oh
it was
yes,
Dennis
yeah.
Rodman.
Okay, yes, I did. Yes, I did
Okay.
see that. I did see that.
So watching that show, I watched Todd, and he was working. He was legit. Out of all those people, Frank Stallone, all those guys, he was actually getting into it. And so I watched him, and it was him and Dennis Rodman. They were doing really well. The finale, of course, it was going to be Rodman because he's Hogan's boy, right? And,
Right.
so we're watching it. And I remember tapping Steve on the leg and being like, "Hey, bro, let's get Todd Bridges." And he was like, "Yo, Dom, my name is Dominic." He's like, "Yo, Dom, yo, how you gonna get Todd Bridges?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm gonna get Todd Bridges." Right? So I kind of was determined. And so I went on MySpace. This is MySpace, and I found Todd Bridges' MySpace page. True story. And I hit him up on the messenger. "Hey, Mr. Bridges' assistant, can you please tell Todd that I just watched the Hogan Championship? I really want to talk to him about booking." No response. Gave it 24 hours. Hit him up again. "Hey, Mr. Bridges' assistant, I really want to talk to Todd about booking. I really just watched the finale. I really want to talk to him." The next morning I woke up, he's like, "I don't have an assistant. This is my page." It was Todd. He's like, "Let's talk." So he leaves me his number. I call him. We go over it. And he's like, I'm like, and it was funny because I pitched it to him. I'm like, "Dude, I know what's going on right now with you." I'm like, "You just finished wrestling. I know it's in your blood right now. You know when you finish wrestling, a show or a training, the next day you want to do it again. You're there. You want to do it again." So I knew it was in his blood. So I knew I had him on the hook.
Well, no, like the first hour and a half after it's over, you never want to do anything involved in wrestling again for the rest of your life. And then the next morning, you're like, "I got to do it again."
I got to do it again.
But like for the first hour and a half after the show, you're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this screwed up and that screwed up and this didn't work. And we only had 30 fans and all the other BS." And then you go, "Why do I even do this stuff?"
The last guy in the building at 2 a.m. The last guy in the building.
But then on the drive home, you're like, "But then there was that spot, man. It was so awesome. And I got to do it again." Or, "Man, I had the crowd working for me." And then, the drive home is usually where you like, you get back psyched into, doing another show.
I think one of my first Fox City pops for myself was when I put Matt Carlos with Hernandez. And Matt Carlos was this green rookie and Hernandez, that giant, Mexican beast man.
Yeah.
And the whole point of contrast was Matt Carlos was back down from anybody, and it was really cool because Hernandez pushes him down and Matt Carlos nips up and the crowd goes crazy. You'd have thought it was the Hogan Slam. Just that emotion he showed when he popped up. I remember that show being like, "I need one of those to show. I need one moment to show. That'll be cool." Luckily, I get a lot of them. I got a lot of them at the Thorn Show. I've got a lot of them seeing Dynasty versus Raven. But the Todd Bridges thing, man. You guys want to hear a Todd Bridges story? We picked Todd Bridges up from the airport. Like, "Todd, what's up, man?" Todd, he's super cool guy. He's like, "Hey, you guys ever doing?" We had a hardcore match that night. I think it was I really was his Necro Butcher versus King Dabada from Puerto Rico. And we didn't have any weapons. So I'm like, "Hey, let's hit Target, go to the hardware shop real quick and go to the show." "Hey, Todd, you want to go to Target?" "Yeah, I'm good." Never crossed my mind as Todd Bridges, right? So we pulled into the parking lot here in Daly City, Target. Get out of the car, we're walking. About 3 seconds into this walk, you hear, "Ah!" Car almost crashes. Because we're looking at Todd Bridges, like, "Oh shit, this is Todd Bridges." Right? He's different. He's a celebrity. And it's never, "Let's go Target, Todd." Yeah, so he was cool. We went to Target and hung out. People were like stopping for autographs. He handled. And yeah, that was fun. That was interesting. Remember, we had him 3 shows, and we turned him heel, and he did it. He jumped the top rope and everything. It was a cool run. And then he goes to Oprah like 2 weeks later. He's on Oprah. It's just awesome.
And you got a lot of great accolades for what you did. You were written up in the Bay Guardian. You were very connected with all the different media. How did you coordinate all of that? And make all that work?
That was dumb luck, dude. Like, literally, when we hit that first show with Rikishi, because they're from here. No, that family draw had a lot to do with it. But like you said, that Concord thing. Before we put our show on Coffee, We got Cron 4 exposure on the morning show on Saturday with the guy who does the shopping show.
Yeah, I
mean,
do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
It's like, and our numbers, and I was really big on my numbers. At that time on the website, our numbers were running ROH right under WWE numbers as far as site visits go a day. We were pumping good ass numbers because I was really good about changing our content on our website. And this was before social media, so you had to go to the website. You know what I'm saying? So our numbers were there, and like, so we just would just make sure that whenever we were doing a show, we made sure we sent out a feeler like, hey, send an intern, send anything. Like, so you got people come to those meetings and end up with passes for things like Live 105 events. Next thing I know, we're doing shows, doing Cinco de Mayhem show, which we've been doing for 10 years now. Every Cinco de Mayo, you know what I'm saying? It started with No Name, and we did it from Tres Agaves to the food trucks. We're doing 500 tickets, these things. Crazy. People still are into it. Like, if we do function show now, we still pull 5.
That's pretty good for the Bay Area these days, definitely.
His computer's freezing up.
Oh, yeah, you might be, or your connection is just a little off there. Was good, but it's now getting a little bit choppy. Maybe you got neighbors like all downloading, Wonder Woman 84 or something like that. So tell me also about some of the other great names that came through Fog City that you worked with. You had Samoa Joe do your card.
No, we never had Joe. We had our Samoans. We had Rikishi. We had the Black Pearl.
Rikishi. I'm sorry.
We had Rikishi with the Black Pearl from the Fatu family. We had Gangrel.
Gangrel is great. He's really undervalued as like people are like, oh, his gimmick was so hokey and stuff like that. He couldn't be a nicer guy. He's one of the fun dudes.
I trained also with Samoans after Pro Wrestling Iron. I spent a lot of time in Knox Pro with David, and he's the dopest. Like there aren't a lot of people with his heart on this planet. He's an amazing human being.
Really loves working with younger talent too, and bringing them up and teaching them, the ropes. And he's never mean to anybody. I mean, I've seen him in a variety of things. And again, a lot of people don't talk about him, or they think he was just a glorified jobber in the WWE.
No.
It's turned out to be a really wonderful dude. Worked a number of shows.
Opening, he had one of those. He had Flame in his intro. Who got Flame in their intro back in the day?
That's true.
Oh, get out of here.
Have him to thank for that. You had some other really, what do you think was your best match that you had for Fog City?
See, that's a rough one because, dude, I consider myself a pretty good pencil, and also at the same time, I also did something that Heyman did. I was using guys that nobody else is using, and making them and then turning them up. So my proudest achievement is turning Sheik face. I'm the one that turned Sheik face. Okay, and the conversation was a lot like it was a very political conversation because it was right when Obama won the election, and I was at home and I'm like, I wonder if this world is ready to root for a Middle Eastern hero. And I called Sam and I was like, yo, I got this idea. You want to be a face? And he was like, nobody roots for her.
Let's tell people who we're talking about here, because people on the East Coast would have no idea who we're talking about.
I'm on the show. I don't know who you're talking about.
All right, so Dark. There's a kid named Sheik Kanabati from here. He's from Oakland. He's an Iranian kid. He's a heavy Muslim, super heavy cat. Actually, now he's recently transgendered. He's crossed over. But he played the Middle Eastern heel, the classic turban, Iranian flag, bad American tattoo spit type of thing. And he's over. He was over. Problem being, he's an amazing high flyer. You can't be a high flying heel. People don't understand this. The high flyers, people want to root for high flyers. The reason why Kidman fell off is they turned him into a villain. You can't make a shooting star person do a finishing move that hurts people. It's a beautiful move. Nobody wants to see me get hurt from that. They want to see me get, it was spectacular. So I realized his high flying was being wasted because he's a heel, and Sheik is an amazing high flyer. So I called him up and I'm like, look, man, we just put a brother in the White House. let's try to run this gimmick and let's see if it works. So let's bring in Dan Danielson, who's this young big boy, white boy, blonde hair, blue eyed. And I'm all, what we're gonna do is you're gonna come out, you're gonna renounce all the violence, all this stuff. If America can change, I can change. He's a good promo guy. Go out there, do your thing. I'll send Dan out to be like, congratulations, welcome to America, and close. You know what I'm saying? And that was it. It was super simple. You know, so Sheik went out there with all his terrorist gear, put it down, he's wearing his bright purples, like, you know, flashy, real clothes. He did the whole, you know, you guys changed America, showed me something at the election. I want to be a different, better person too. Put that Born in the USA on. White boy came out, and it was kind of risky using the white boy doing that. I was like, this is gonna be tricky. So the white boy comes out to Born in the USA, and he's like, Sheik embraces him and hugs him, does the hand up like, look at our new American friend, turn him around, short arm close, like, wow.
Yeah.
As soon as he hit the Sheik took the bump. Dan Danielson turned his back and was like, now what? Sheik stood up, and I swear to God, the whole entire place, Sheik, you can go outside. It was bonkers. That brown face, she comes back to the back of the room, right? He's like, yo, Dom, did you know that was going to happen? I'm like, no idea, bro. No idea. But it was beautiful. I got a little teary actually, all this stuff. But it was a beautiful morning for wrestling. I had like 300 kids chanting for Brown, dude. It was dope.
And so what was it like to get it on TV? And when you had, first of all, I've always, like, even as a kid, the KOFY station is one of the most synonymous with San Francisco. And I think you and I grew up watching a lot of KOFY stuff on there. So it must have felt really good to be seen locally broadcast.
The feedback, oh, geez. Well, feels like Dr. Lee, all the old timers, Leno, cats like that were calling me like, yo, this is dope. I was like, all right, cool, this is good. You know, it felt really good. It was the Christmas special. We did the whole like.
Oh no.
We
lost connection for a sec.
We're back, man. Somebody call my phone.
We're back. Yes. Talking about the Christmas special.
But it felt so good dropping that Christmas special and having like from our family to your family. Here's some pro wrestling. That was a dope moment. Like again, like I said, all I need is one. Give me a moment every time, and that was a moment. You know, nobody can take that from me. Putting your friends on TV, putting AJ on TV, putting Jody on TV. You know, doing stuff like that, doing the Battle Royal. Dave Dutra's first appearance on TV. We did the Battle Royal. Marcus Matt did the green screen to that. You know, that's my man right there. I can never talk about pro wrestling without telling Marcus Matt, who's the owner of APW. Now the Rollins passed away. You know, but having him come out and do his gimmick on a green screen to open up the show and talk about the Cow Palace and doing the Battle Royal, and it's Marcus Mack voiced the growl, and then we had the Battle Royal. We got footage from what's the guy's name? Man, this dude had footage from Cow Palace Battle Royal. And let us borrow this. So we had our Battle Royal. Yes, and that was really killer. So
you were cutting off, unfortunately, right there. Were you able to hear him, Evan?
No.
Sorry. Sorry.
What I was saying was we actually got some footage from a guy who grew up in San Francisco who had actual film footage. He let my tech digitize, so we were able to actually take some Calhoun footage and Cow Palace footage, and do Marcus Mack do the intro, and then show our Battle Royal, because the Battle Royal was born here. People that know the San Francisco thing, the Battle Royal was born here. You know what I'm saying? So we were able to incorporate those two things into our show. So that was special, and Dr. Lee dug that, you know. And when you get feedback from the old timers, like, you know, one of the coolest things about Flux City was that I had Roland, I had Leno in my pocket the whole time. Like, I didn't do a show without talking to Roland. I didn't do a show without talking to Leno, ever. You know, Leno was always on my side. He's like, and you know, Mike too. Mike's the whole like, well, you know, so there's a deal with you. You're like, yep, that's why I love you, dog. You know, he just drops knowledge on you like that super slow, low, mellow tone.
Yeah.
Like, You know, it's a good thing. So I need to go out there and just, some cats again, they come into this business without respect. They don't come into it and think about how they're gonna attach to what's already here and ride with it. They want to be like, I want to be a new thing. I don't want to be a new thing. I want to be a part of what was already here with a new thing, but incorporate everything we already been doing. Because, buddy, when I first got to the city, I was inspired by you and you guys on your TV show on public access. Y'all were killing it. I loved that. That was dope. Nobody was doing what you guys were doing up here. I was inspired by a scene that was already developing. And that's what I could add to. I didn't come over and try to make my own new thing. Look at me, I'm doing a new thing. I wanted it all in together, everybody on the same team. Let's make Bay Area wrestling dope, and it did. Since Fog City, we've been hotter than fish grease. Like, as far as getting talent on TV, as far as, like that, stuff like that, like as far as getting guys signed, Cody Rhodes came out here and basically started AEW after doing APW. You know what I mean? So that's all because of what we did. As a team. It wasn't just me. I was the guy who may have put it together, but we were a team. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. Well, so the next thing that I got to ask is what really happened to Fog City? How come? What happened to the TV deal and what happened to the regular shows that you were doing?
The recession smacked us in the face like a sunbitch. Like it was literally from like having sponsors to having no money available at all quickly. Like it was really like, I mean, we went to a Toyota dealership we've been working with for a year. The day we went to pick up a check, he was laying people off. It was that bad. Our venue cost was high. You saw the product we were using, so my production costs were high, and it just got too much. And like the TV deal, coffee was really working. We were doing pay to play when we do those 3 or 4 shows. And they did. I wanted to adjust it to start doing shows in the studio where a house party was filmed, or a dance party, which would have made sense cost-wise and everything, and I just couldn't get them on board with it.
They have Coffee has a few live shows that they do. Right. Creature Features being one of them, Dance Party being one of them, where they have a live studio where people come and dance to different stuff from the 80s. Again, trying to hip the East Coast to any of this stuff because they don't know any of this.
And Creature Feature, and it's crazy, Creature Feature was no name in my other home place. Like those were my people. You know, they were like, get these guys in here. It would have been dance. It would have been one more revenue piece for them. It would have been something great for locals to have that nobody could ever take away. And they just weren't into it. They were just like, they were resistant. Hey Smurf, you got my phone? It's on my bed. Listening to it, it was a struggle at the end. Just because, payroll for a 30-person show, and we had sponsor money at one point, and we just didn't. It was getting tough. And I didn't want to pay the guys nothing. And I wanted to go out on a high note. I didn't want to go out on the note of like, oh, Fog City, yeah, these guys suck. Not paying their guys, and they're still running. I didn't want to do that.
So that's true. What was the exact time frame for those who don't know? When did you run?
08 to 12.
Okay.
We had a 4-year run. We literally had an ECW run. We had that lightning in a bottle, baby. Like we had a venue that allowed us to look like we were. I mean, to this day, honestly, I'll say this with pride. My video podcast stand up still. Nobody was producing as well as we were producing. Still. If you look at our stuff, it's cleaner, it's crispier, the sound's better, we care. Some guys want to just videotape it and throw it out there. They want to do a hard cam and just be out. We actually cared about what we were doing as far as like what it was going to look like. We were trying to sell it. I was trying to get it. I was trying to move it. I was really trying to get it to where it would be on Adult Swim. We were trying to really market Fog City to be a show, not just for San Francisco. That's the way I looked at it.
So knowing what you know now, why don't you use this expertise and experience and do something better? Because a lot of the wrestling today is awful.
It's really bad. And what's funny is, Mr. Ginzburg, I'll just tell you right now, right before this COVID thing hit, and also if I can find out, I'll send you the flyer. I really was about to relaunch, and I had a great promotion lined up. I had a lot of energy. My friend, one of my best friends is a part owner of a club here in the city. He's like, use my venue. So I was really ready to line up and I was getting my energy back up for it, and then the vid. The vid.
Yeah.
The vid. So maybe so with that being said, when this shit's over, never say never. Because I'm definitely hungry to still produce and promote. There's still a lot of young guys out there that I think, are awesome. Before I'm gone, just shout out to Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. That's my man for life. I gave him his first match while Luke was still alive, and Luke Perry got to see him wrestle at Fog City, and that was special. And he worked with Dylan Drake. You know Dylan.
Yes.
Jungle Boy. He was Johnny. So Jungle Boy was Johnny Drake.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
It is amazing to think like 20 years past, or for some of the stuff, it's 12, 15 years.
Yeah,
past.
Man. That ranks up on that phone call ranks up with the Todd Bridges phone call. The Luke Perry call, because Jack was underage, but he was training with Nikki and Disco Machine for Pro Wrestling Gorilla's original group. And I'm sitting at home with my ex-wife, and the phone rings, and it's like a blocked number, and I'm like, telemarketer, no, it's 6 o'clock. Hello? And the other voice, he was like, hey, man, I'm looking for Caesar, man. And I'm like, dude, it's Dylan from 90210. I'm like, I know it's Luke Perry, but you can hear the voice, and all it is to you is Dylan from 90210. I look at my wife, and I'm like, hey, babe, hey, Dylan's calling me. Oh, it's Dylan. Me at the beach man. She's like, no way. I'm like, it's totally Dylan. But yeah, he's like, someone's underage. He asked me the gimmick. We told him what we're gonna do it. Then he's like, we're doing it. And he brought him, drove him up to San Francisco. We used him with Marcus Mack, Pink Mink Inc., and Dylan Drake for a little gimmick. You get a sliced bread on Rick Luxury. It was awesome. Now look at him. He's Jungle Boy, AEW.
Yeah, no, I mean it's we've been lucky to work with so many talented people that have worked really hard to get themselves, forward. And I mean, look at where Tom Castor is as a WWE referee full time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love that little guy. He was one of them. Yeah, he was.
I smile.
You knew when you would see him and he would work a show that you were going to get the best referee in Northern California working, and so I'm glad to see him working full time with the WWE.
You know who else? Like the first match too? Now I'm thinking about it. Jody Christopherson with AJ Kirsch of Larry King fame, and so many other things. AJ is the man. He works hard. AJ Kirsch works hard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We gave Jody Christopherson his first match with AJ, sanctioned by Roland, because he wasn't a debut star yet. Sanctioned by Roland, Fog City, with Chris Christopherson in the front row.
Yeah, we've tried to get Jody on the show. We may still chase him down one of these days and get him on the show.
Yeah. So that was that. So we had the Fog City again. Like I said, we had that lightning in a bottle atmosphere, man. Like we did this. I'm having Savio Vega. Like I got to pick a lot of minds who aren't just wrestler minds. Like Raven, for as weirdo as that dude he is, and he's a weird cat. When he's dropping knowledge, it's there.
Like what did he tell you? What did he tell you?
He's big on the less is more and keeping things simple. And really that's where I kind of got he's got that Heyman influence where he's like, we can do more, we can do this much and get this much out of it versus doing this much and get nothing out of it. We can go all over the building and make it make no sense and stand in the middle of the ring and tell the story of a lifetime. He really got started me thinking about timing, because a lot of cats in the wrestling business go, "Whoa, I want to have a TV time match, or I want to have a main event time match." He's all, tell the story in the match. That's what makes a good squash match, and that's what makes a good Iron Man match. It's the storytelling. You have a 1 hour piece of garbage match, you can have a 30-second genius, match. That wasn't the point. The point is to give the person you're giving the match to maximize their attributes. You know what I'm saying? So
why is something like that so hard for the WWE to understand right now?
Oof. Do we have another hour? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Well, I want to get inside your mind. This is the simple stuff is talking about yourself. The harder part is getting inside and finding out why wrestling is messed up right now and what we can do about it.
Because you don't care about the characters and you don't care about the angles. You have to care, just like a movie.
I was talking to MVP about a week ago, about 2 weeks ago, and I was like laughing because I basically told him how the entire last month of wrestling was going to be. And he thought I was joking. I called him drunk. We were just talking shit drunk. And I'm like, nobody's going to care about Retribution. You're going to kill Ricochet's character. I kind of went off the series of things that were going to happen if you didn't do this, this, and this. And sure as shit, Retribution sucks. They've killed Ricochet's character. They're killing poor Xavier Woods. And it's just like and her business, as cool as you guys are going to fall off because you're not going to be a face. And he thought I was joking. 2 weeks ago, I was laughing. I'm like, everything I told you happened, didn't it? And he's like, I hate when you do that. That's all he said. He knows. Because just like Mr. Ginzburg said, the WWE is pushing this shiny turd, but it's still a turd. It's
That's right.
Tallest turd ever. And it doesn't make any sense. Think about the roster. Let's just play clean slate. As a wrestling fan, on one show, you got Cesaro, Bryan, Zayn, Owens, all on the same show, right? And you can't make that work.
That's right.
It's silly. With those four guys alone, I can do so much. You can almost recreate the whole Radicals angle. You can do so much just those four dudes. Cesaro by himself being misused is a huge problem in WWE for a long time. Absolutely. You spend time on guys like Otis, which makes no sense at all. Great comic relief. No knock on the guy being a fat guy. But do I want to watch him for 6 weeks with Mandy Rose and not see Cesaro wrestle? When you're making these decisions, it's like the people that are making decisions aren't wrestler guys. They're not us. They don't like the business as much as we do. They don't care about the business as we do. They're doing bubblegum stories in a bubblegum computer machine and spitting out T-shirts. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's what it comes down to. It's a merch machine now. Roman Reigns playing the Godfather villain should be awesome. But instead of having a contingent of Samoans, it's just him and Paul Heyman. You can sign Sepha. Jacob is out there right now. Even if Jay is hurt, you can go out and get talent. You can bolster it. And if you're going to be Samoan Dynasty, make it a dynasty. Have them run shit for the next 6 weeks. You got Heyman. It could be a Godfather movie. It could be a year of Roman Reigns. Reign. A Samoan blackout for a year would be fun. Daniel Bryan going to get some corner. These guys going to, because you have this talent. Now you have this like kind of Texas feel where you're like, look at these dudes you think are savage, but they're hella crafty. Like I always look at Samoans like the aliens from the movie Alien. You think they're just savage bugs, but they really are smart. They have a plan. You know what I'm saying? That's the cool thing about Samoans. And so, so you have that. And then you have like a women's division that's amazing, and it's just silliness. It's fun. They have the most talented females they've had in a really long time. And they can't somehow pull the trigger and make it work. Beyond the Diva-esque thing and putting the two blondes together and making it a team. It's like there's no thought past the glam. They don't go into the soul of the characters. Oh, I like what this guy looks like. I like what he looks like. Let's put them in a match. That's what it almost seems like. Do you feel that AEW is doing a better job in managing the shows, or do you think they still also leave something to be desired? AEW is the problem when there's no bookers. I wish I could love AEW. I wish I could like it sometimes. I love the guys working there, but I cannot watch the whole AEW show in one sitting. I had to watch it in chunks. It's too dicey. It's too random. I don't need to see. Not everybody that goes to the ring needs to bring their friends with them. Not everybody needs to be friends. I don't really care about your friendship. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. The things they care about AEW, I don't care that you're friends with the Young Bucks. I don't care that. The problem is that you can almost connect the dots to everybody who's friends with everybody who they're working, which is stupid. I understand Eddie Kingston's friends with the Death Triangle. They're all homies. Why are they working together? Like that it's too much of a circle jerk, which sucks to say. Because it should be an amazing show, but there's no booker there. There's also no writing, I found out from Jack. So there's nobody writing anything. They're going from the hip. And as cool as some wrestling guys are, they're not creative. And some of them can't talk. You have to feed some people lines. So you got guys like Kingston who can talk, and then Lance Archer, who's just big. And another problem is for AEW, we're talking about it. I respect all those legends. They don't need to be managers. We're managers, buddy. We train to run interference, to be mouthpieces, and to do it. They're just guys out there being like, I used to be a wrestler, so here's my guy. And then I run the kind of interference and doing the comic relief stuff the manager's supposed to do. So it takes cheap.
Right, exactly. Well, cheap heat is not what it used to be, unfortunately.
It's not.
It's they don't believe in that anymore, and it's not that kind of that kind of comic relief. They just instead would rather have a 20-minute promo that puts everybody to sleep.
Dude, I love Snake Roberts so much, and I cannot stand him as a manager. It's he's stiff when he moves. He shouldn't be out there. He looks uncomfortable. He's
tired. He looks very tired, which is
Arm just looks silly with a clipboard.
Well, he's lived about 4 lifetimes. You'd say that like a dog, lives every 7 years. I mean, I think every 7 minutes for Jake the Snake Roberts is like 12 years to us.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Armed with the clipboard. I mean, they put poor Tully, with FTR, and that should be awesome. But then FTR's not winning. You couldn't get Sean Spears over. What I mean? Like,
it's too many. It's like giving a dog too many tennis balls at the same time.
Yeah.
They pick one up, they drop it. They pick another one up, they drop it. Because there's too many wrestlers to choose from. And Vince is the ultimate, button pusher that says, I want to push this guy, I want to push that guy, and it all has to go through him. This is what we're seeing, unfortunately.
There's no proper factions either. If you do a faction properly, you can actually rotate guys in and out. They'll get their TV time. They won't go stale. You can do things with them. They don't just have to sit around and hold their dicks. You know what I'm saying? There's things you can do when you have a roster. When you have Cesaro, Zayn. I mean, not to be that super simple booking guy, but we all know what they're capable of. And if they all, if they honestly think about this, how funny would it have been if Retribution would have been those 4 guys? They're sick of being held back. Did it again? They would have more of a beef and gripe to be Retribution than the guys who came out of Retribution. You're talking about rookies who are now main eventing complaining. It's a weird angle. It doesn't make any sense just because of that. Retribution should have been vets. It should have been new guys. Or it should have been the Undisputed Era coming up on the main roster. It should have been whoever it is that's last, because those guys are done. What is T-Bar going to do next year when that's not hot anymore? And that's
I guess Ascension's available.
They're going that route. It's going that route. You got Predator guy, and poor Jade. You got Keith Lee, who's like on top of the world, and Jade's in Retribution. Those guys can break up marriages. I'm like, best of luck to them. But damn, really, I gotta go to the same place. I gotta wake up with you, get up, same car, drive to work with you, and then I get to go to this locker room and get to go hang out with those guys. That's a lot.
Well, so tell me about the future of Fog City, because it does sound like there's a future to it from what we're talking about.
I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell everybody. I will never do Fog City again, because that was me and Stevie and Brad. And though I created it and I built it, I did it with those guys. It's like a band. I'm not trying to put the band back together with 3 other guys. I don't want to be the Fog City experience. You know what I'm saying? Like me and 6 horn players. You know what I mean? It's like it's not the same thing. So my next project, if I do another project, will be Fog City-esque, because I'm always going to have that ethic. It's definitely going to have a lot more underground hip hop flavor into it. I don't know why it's kind of my head's at these days. But yeah, I've definitely thought about it a lot. There's talent I really want to work with locally, like D-Rogue. That kid. I don't know keeping up with the scene here, but there's like D-Rogue. There's Juicy. There's still Matt Carlos is still in the house. There's a lot of talent. Rick Lovetree is still here training people at East Bay Pro. So there's still a lot of good talent out here, young cats. And again, if I ever do stuff, I love my veterans, but if you're going to build something, you have to have solid foundation. Your people always at the bottom of it. So I would always look for the new, fresh talent. That's kind of where I always keep my head at, I think. So any project I work on, fresh young talent, keeping it fresh.
What are you proudest of, and what do you regret the most from the 4 years?
Oh, man, I think I'm proudest of the fact that we just did it in San Francisco. You're from New York, you know this. The cost of living here, doing something as big as what we did for 4 years was like, that's major. Like a lot of cats don't get that kind of run. That's major. And just the fact that we did it in our hometown, in our own backyard, downtown, bright lights and all that. That was killer. My biggest regret is that it ended, and I couldn't keep it together. Because I always say, you know, it's one of those things where like I just mentioned all those people that built it with me. It still was mine. You know, so losing your first love is rough. And there's days when like I didn't even want to look at Fuck City shirts. That hurt. There was days when fans would be like, "Hey, when are you doing the Fuck City shirt?" I was like, you get that. So the regret of ending was that my biggest regret is that it ended because we had something special and we can't get it back. We got something new, but we'll never get that back. You know, we'll never get that. We brought Rikishi back to San Francisco after, you know, that was bananas. Like, go look at that first Fuck City podcast. That place, that's not a wrestling show. It's a fucking house party. You know what I'm saying? People throwing their hands in the air. You know, it's California love. Like, we did something that I don't think people thought we could do, and it was damn special. So yeah, I regret the end because we ran out of money. We just ran out of, you know, people's morale was low. I just regret not being able to hold it together as a promoter. Like, I wonder what Heyman walks around with. I wonder what some of these guys walk around with. You carry it in your pocket because you build relationships with wrestlers and crew, my sound guy, everybody on my crew, my staff. That was my Saturday. I spent my whole Friday to Sunday with these cats. Right. You know, so I miss that camaraderie part. Like you said, buddy, show's over. I don't want to do anything, but the next day I want to do it again, and I want to do it with those people. So it's that part of it.
Wow. Well, yeah. What I can't believe is that we're getting close to an hour of chatting with you. You know, I really have appreciated it. I want you to be able to let fans know how they can get a hold of you and what's, you know, how they can check out the Fog City pages and all that other stuff. So why don't you throw out some links to our fans here?
We still have our YouTube page up. The original page is still up. There's at least 300-400 hours of Fog City stuff on there. The Facebook page is still up. Tons of pictures, tons of cool pictures on that. I can't take the Facebook page down because there's just so many cool pictures in there. Like Journey Fatu, the youngest kid from the Fatu, is being smacked in the head by his own dad, Tonka Kid. That was fun. Shout out TK, by the way, that's my uncle. And okay. Yeah, those are my people, man. Like they raised me. Fox City, the YouTube page, Fox City, the Facebook page, Caesar Black Facebook. I'm always taking friends, saying what's up to people. I'm writing movies now. So I'm actually writing TV and movies now. So until wrestling's back, I'll be writing. I just finished my first pilot's being negotiated right now. So yeah, so I'm stoked. I'm staying creative, man. Staying in the flow.
There you go.
Do you have any what are your thoughts about like how soon we'll be able to get out of this COVID situation? And do you think that live wrestling and indie wrestling will be able to come back?
I believe because of the fans, indie wrestling will always have a place. And if they tell us we can go to a building and we're safe for what will happen, and I want people to just, you know, I just lost my uncle a couple last week, so
really, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just stay safe, people. Don't rush back to shows. It's not worth it, man. Like, just take your time. Come back when you're safe. Just stay safe.
That's very real. It's very real around here. You know, it's still very dangerous and a lot of people at risk. I'm really sorry that you lost someone that's close to you. You know, because
thank you for that.
Evan's gone.
Stay safe. It's not worth it. We love shows too, but like, I saw a flyer for a deathmatch show, and I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? You know, like, it's not worth it yet. Just don't do it yet. Give it a year. Let's make 2022 the year of indie wrestling. Come back to the shows. Bring your stupid chants. Bring your stupid fanboy shirts. But let's do it in 2 years.
Yeah, make sure you have the vaccination, and we'll all be safe. Yeah.
I was working an indie show last January, and I'm backstage, and I'm talking to this guy like, like we're talking, and next thing you know, this kid's on a respirator. It's no joke. It's no joke.
No joke. And I understand the promoters want to get back to doing shows. I understand you kids want to get back to doing what you do, but you know what? It's not worth it yet.
It's not worth dying over.
No. So, yeah, not until you can at least become a guest a second time on the show, and when we have you as a repeat guest. So don't go dying on us yet. We want you around. I'm
good. And hopefully by the time we do this again, the answer will be, speaking of which, 2 months, we're back in food trucks. That's the goal. But we're not rushing. You know what I'm saying? And here's an ironic thing. So I don't do shows very often, but I do a Secretly My Own show. I was going to do my first ever matinee double show this year. I've never had that. They wanted me to do a daytime and an evening, so I've never done that before. I was super excited to be like, double show. It means they love us. They love us. COVID.
Well, if you decide to do another one of those shows, maybe next year, and you need a corny old school manager, I never worked a Fog City show. I would love to check that off on my bucket list.
Me and you could probably do some good commentary together, too.
I would love to do commentary with you. I would love to do commentary.
I've been doing my commentary with APW, so I've been kind of warming up my retirement gig.
Anything for a buck, man. You got to make it happen. Got to make it
happen.
Right on,
brother.
Well, anyways, this has been a fantastic interview. Really enjoyed having you. Again, give your websites a plug real quick.
It's the Fog City Facebook page and the YouTube page, Fog City Wrestling. Go check it out. There's good music on there. It's like there's Eric Larson from Image Comics in there. Like there's some crazy stuff in there. Go dig it, man. It's a pop culture. It was a pop culture vitamin. It was a moment in time. Just check it out.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right. Good night, everybody.